It's moving. It'll settle down. So hey, what's up everyone? Mike Gross here, youtube.com/rockinguitarlessons1 and rockinguitarlessons.com. As we all know, the end of Motley has happened officially, and been getting a lot of emails pertaining to Motley, just a lot of things in general. But this is from Tammy Lee. I see what you did there. 86. And there's a few questions. You know, one is, how do I feel about the Motley Crue breakup? The other one is, do I have any Motley Crue or Les stories? Les is Mick Mars' son. He's my best buddy. We started our music dreams together back in like 82, around there, 83. The other one is, what do I think of Mick's playing? So I'm going to address two of these right now, and to the best of my ability, and my opinions, and share how I feel about all of it. And the last question I'm going to save, because I had another email where, for a Q&A where someone wants to know Mick Mars or Warren DeMartini. I'll have to read more about it, but so I'm gonna save that for that Q&A. So how do I feel about Motley Crue breaking up? That, you know, this has been the talk for a long time, and they're bound by contract. They decided it a few years back. There's really like no way to even, you know, get out of it. But this is what they've all agreed to do and want to do. And you know, I remember first time hearing Motley Crue, and it was right close to the time that I met Mick's son, Les. And the first album, just so raw, you know, Too Fast for Love. What a journey that Motley has had. What is it, 81 to now? So is that 34 years, something like that? How do I feel about it? And I think it's the real deal. It's not like the Ozzy thing, you know, where it's the final tour, and then next year they're touring again, and then it's the big final tour. You know, Motley Crue said they didn't want to do it that way. They seem excited about moving on in their solo music careers, you know, and I think musicians and bands, especially the longer you've been together, it probably had to be very difficult for them, but at the same time, you know, you evolve, you know, and you move into different directions. And, you know, any Motley Crue fan is going to be sad, because a lot of us dudes that grew up in the 80s grew up listening to Motley, so it hits even more of a spot with people like us. We grew up playing it. You know, I remember going to Les's house, who I said, like, I met in, you know, what did Too Fast for Love came out in, I think 81, right? And I met Les 82, because I remember it was close to what this big festival called the US Festival, and that was like Motley Crue's, man, boom, like they really took off after that. It was in San Bernardino, which is the basic area where me and Les lived. So we have lots and lots of years of Motley albums to still listen to. I want to be careful on focusing in on the Mick thing, like I said, because we're going to save that for a Q&A. But, you know, it's not the end of what they're doing individually. So that, in that sense, it's kind of cool and fun and interesting to look forward. We know Nicky's going on with 6 a.m. and, you know, Vince will be doing his solo thing. I haven't heard nothing about what Tommy Lee's doing. And Mick's going to be doing some solo stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a treat. You know, I'm sure those guys were reflecting on their last show when they played in LA last night. Just, you know, man, this is where it all started, and they wanted it that way too. They started there and they ended it there. Went out with a humongous bang, no pun intended, because I was watching some of the concert footage people have been posting, and it was wild, man. It was wild. So how I feel is, let's look forward to the new stuff they do. The chance of them getting back together, at least anytime soon, I don't think it'll happen, and they're saying it'll never happen. So I tend to want to believe them on that, because they've been discussing this for a long, long time. So move on to the next question. Do I have any Motley Crue or Les stories? Man, I can go on and on in that. Now, as far as the crew goes, I know Mick, and I know Mick because of Les, obviously. I've never met Nicky, Tommy, or Vince. Just never met him before. Mick, he's a character, man. The apple didn't fall far from the tree with Les because they're both just zany, crazy, funny guys, and both very nice guys. So as far as stories with Les, I mean, I could do video after video after video because, you know, we have a lifetime of being friends and bandmates and stuff. And so me and them have tons of experiences starting basically our first band together. A lot of fun, where Les played bass in that band. And, you know, one quick story. Some of these I probably have mentioned when I first opened my channel. When I did Motley Lessons, I kind of introduced it as, you know, I know Les and Mick and all that stuff. And I talked about some of these stories in there. But this one specifically about, you know, any stories I have. So, first time meeting Mick, my band at the time, Antioch, was playing out in Hollywood at this club called Oasis. And it was right around the time Girls, Girls, Girls came out from Motley. And Mick came out and watched our band play. It was cool. He brought, you know, a limousine and stayed for the whole show. Of course, he was having to, there was the star thing going on where people were, once they realized, he should have came in disguise, Mick. That's what you should have done. Because he had the brown leather Girls, Girls, Girls jacket on. You know, it was obviously, this is Mick Mars, you know. But for the most part, people tried to be respectful and let him watch his son's band play. It was cool. It was cool. I got that whole concert on VHS tape somewhere, and so does Les. I think you do, Les. Do you? So after we were done, you know, he gave us the rock star treatment, and we got to cruise around Hollywood in the limousine, and it was cool. It was just a cool experience. I think I was probably, I don't know, 16. Les is a year younger than me. Maybe it was 17 and 16. I was 17, Les was 16. That was cool. So our band went through a few different changes and stuff. You know, Les used to send his dad cassette tapes of, you know, songs we were doing and bounce ideas off his dad and stuff. That was always cool. I remember we used to practice in this church, pretty close to Les's house. Me and Les didn't live too far from each other, a couple miles. And we used to leave our equipment in this church. And the church was very cool. You know, they didn't charge us. They just let us store it there. We practiced all the time. And one night we went into practice and showed up, and someone had broken into the church and stole most of our gear. I don't remember. They didn't wipe out everything, but they got a lot of stuff, man. They got my guitar and amp, a bunch of Les's stuff, some of the drums. I don't think they took all the drums. PA stuff, microphones. I had an Echoplex unit. Remember that, Les? I know you remember it. Old school. That I had gotten as a gift from my parents' friends that owned a pawn shop in Riverside, where I lived. And this thing was just amazing. It's Eddie Van Halen used to use them, Jimmy Page. I was looking them up on eBay. These suckers go for like insane amounts of money. It's in the thousands. They got that. So we were devastated, you know. We didn't have money to go buy all new gear for everybody. So a couple weeks go by, you know, Les told his dad, Mick, what happened, and big old huge truck pulled up in front of Les's house, and it was a bunch of music equipment and half stacks, Marshalls and stuff, and effect pedals. That was another thing. Les, your effect pedal board, which you basically gave me, I was using all the time. It was the Boss, and it had like six or eight, however many go in there. That got stolen because you know how we were effect happy back then, man. We'd turn all of them on at the same time, just being crazy. But so Mick sent out a truck, and that it was just full of music gear. And Les was like, oh my God. He called his dad, and what do I do, you know? Do I give this to Mike? And Mick said, whatever you want to do, Les. So Les gave me a Marshall half stack. I forget what I did as far as guitar-wise. what happened. But that was another cool story involving Mick and Les. It was a real bad situation that turned into really a cool thing. What else? Mid to later 90s, probably 96, 97, Les had called me. This is when Motley was going through the singer changes and stuff like that. Vince was out of the band, and Mick was starting to dabble in the producing thing, and he'd always wanted to get a band formed and him produce it. And he called Les and said, "Hey, can you get a hold of Mike Gross and see if he wants to do this project? I'd like him to be the guitar player for it and the singer." So obviously I was like, heck yeah, I'm ecstatic about it. Heck yeah, let's do it. And he had a drummer lined up who was from a band called Green Jelly. I don't know if you remember them. He was going to be the drummer, and there was another guy, I can't remember, it's been a while. I don't know if it was going to be a 3-piece or a 4-piece. But so anyways, me and Les would drive out to his dad's house in, where was it at, Les? Over the the ocean, that gated community where the fires happened and all that stuff, and your dad had to evacuate. But so I went out there and started making some trips, and me and Mick did a lot of talking about direction and just bouncing ideas around, jamming together. He had I don't think it was downstairs, but in one of the rooms we went in, he just had, it was guitars wall to wall. You couldn't even see the wall behind it. There was that many guitars hanging. It was just like a guitar center inside of Mick's house. Amps and just tons of stuff, man. Like a trip to Disneyland for a musician, you know? So, and I got to play a lot of Mick's guitars, different ones he's had. I remember him saying, "Hey, Mike, I know you teach guitar. What is the name of this chord?" And it was the chord that he uses in Dr. Feelgood. And we both laughed because at the same time we said the Hendrix chord, which is what I'd always called it. I knew it was like a E7 type chord, and then so that was my answer to Mick, was the Hendrix chord, which was what he called it. It's called an E7 sharp 9. But, you know, the Hendrix chord sounds better. You know, it just fits it. So, and then I remember, so he sent me home, sent me, you know, some music gear to record ideas with. I had, I think it was a little bit later, actually, Les had given me this Tascam 388 reel-to-reel. Old school, you know, and it was, I guess Motley used to use it to record in the early days. But I think that came later, Les. I don't fully remember now. But I had to be recording some way because I was putting the ideas together. Mick had sent me home with a guitar. Had given it to me, and Les, I don't know why in the hell I forgot you brought that up a few months back. It's like, I think the red BC Rich style guitar, and I've owned a lot of guitars. I don't know where that guitar wound up going. I wish I would have held on to it. I would have had one of Mick Mars's guitars. It was a cool guitar. It was like a cherry red one. And then the Proteus sound module, which I can get the violins and the orchestrated sounds, like a MIDI device you hook into your keyboard. And then, you know, me and Mick would talk, you know, once a week or so on the phone, talk about direction and ideas. He had told me to go buy a bunch of albums from a band called Strawberry Alarm Clock. I had never even heard of them. They were back in the, I guess, the early 70s. Or maybe even late 60s, I don't know. Kind of like Flower Child, you know, rock. It was cool, though. It was cool. And he wanted this band that I was going to be a part of to draw influence off Strawberry Alarm Clock and Jimi Hendrix. And I was like, who's Hendrix? No, just kidding. So I was thinking, what a cool mix the more I listened to it. So the reason Mick had told me that was he wanted, he knew I liked all styles and played all styles, but we needed a direction musically. And Mick was the producer, so that was the direction he was pointing me in. So I went out and found some Strawberry Alarm Clock cassette tapes, started absorbing it, listening to it, and coming up with riffs, and I'd get some ideas, and me and Les would drive back out to mix, check them out, and it was going cool, man. It was going really cool. And not too long after that, Vince Neil rejoined Motley. So I remember Mick being frustrated really with the band at that time. I don't remember the details, but he just was not happy. I don't know if it was the music direction, the producers were wanting them to go in, and I remember Mick just saying, you know, I'm a blues rock guitar player. That's who I am. That's what I want to do. And so Vince rejoined, and the project just, obviously Motley took off again, and that was the end of that project. Never really got off the ground, but it was cool. Cool story. How much time do we got left here? I got a few more minutes, I think. What else? There was something else I wanted to say. Another Mick thing. I can't remember. When I'm finished recording, I'll probably remember it. But anyways, Mick, as far as him as a person, like I said, he's the only one that I ever met in Motley. And super nice guy. He's a character, you know. I remember, I think when me and Les showed up, he was watching the Three Stooges, and now I'm like, oh, okay, now I see where Les gets it, because you know Les is a big Three Stooges fanatic. So just funny. I remember being over there, and there was this, I think it was a globe, just this crazy globe, and Mick said, yeah, Steve Vai gave me this. You know, Vai is insane nutty, you know what I mean? Just abstract, you know, what do you expect, you know, a product of Frank Zappa. So it was just all neon fluorescent, just crazy stuff. Oh, and I remember also going in there, and Mick had this humongous big screen TV. Me and Les walked in. I don't know where Mick went, left the room for something, and then no, he went to the mailbox where he went. I remember that, because I remember what we talked about after that. But anyways, he's all, yeah, there's another TV behind it, which is almost equally as big. And I mean, these are monsters for the time. And the TV blew out, so he just, rather than get rid of the TV, he just pushed it back, bought a new one, and stuck it in front of the old one. Just laughing, just crazy stuff. But good times, man. A lot of good times. And then I've talked to Mick a few times, you know, at the NAMM show when I've seen him. But, you know, it's been really a long time, you know, since I've spoken to Mick. It's probably been 4 years. But Les, you know, he's my brother. I love Les to pieces. He's one of the nicest men I've ever met, and bros in my life. He's just that cool. He's the type of guy that would give you the shirt off his back. And but I wouldn't take his shirt, because Les would never change his shirt. Remember that yellow shirt you had, Les? Had Tasmanian Devil on it? That sucker you would wear for like 2 weeks straight, man. Funny. Good times. So I probably have more stories, but, you know, that's it. And then the last question, you know, what do I think of Mick's playing? We're going to save that for the Q&A, which I may actually put that up after this. The comparison of Mick Mars and Warren DeMartini. But you had a few other little points or questions in there, and I'll tell you what I think about that. So stay tuned. All right, we're going to be doing a lot more of these Q&As. You guys are liking it. I'm liking it. It's kind of fun. Obviously, the primary thing is the lessons. I know you guys want to rock, but I like throwing in these stories. It lets me reflect on it, and it answers your guys' questions. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Keep supporting Motley, and we can look forward to what they're going to be doing, you know, in their solo careers. So subscribe, share this stuff on Facebook, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's it. The end. Nikki had posted this thing on Facebook. It just said, the end. I wonder if those guys cried. I bet they did. I mean, Motley Crue, the end. Really? Whew. All right, guys. Catch you later.